Well, 3, Mr Mayor, we do have one application for the field job.
Sorry for that.
Field job.
Okay. Good. Can I have somebody move Jenny's report, please? 391. Plum, second and Hanson. Those in favour? Carried. Jenny, anything to point out?
I'd just like to say that the local law officer is back at work this week and he's doing a lot better. He looks a lot better than when he returned 2 weeks ago. The only other thing is pool applications are closed. We will be, the applications for a second casual at the pool have closed, and we hopefully will be doing interviews on Friday for that one.
So, through you, Mr Mayor, the pool, when we discussed it going back with regards to leasing and then going down this path, didn't we discuss we'd only need 2 employees?
No. The original resolution called for 2, I think, and we amended it just for. Is that right?
Yeah, we amended it. Because it was the equivalent of 2, but we need more.
Backfill in the case of leave.
In the pool of the pool, yeah. So, pool of employees, so that if someone's away, we've got someone to fill in.
For the casual position.
2 ministry casual.
And what is it, Brett?
The hours, Mr Mayor, the hours of the pool are the same. We're paying someone
You just need
to
to
be there, but two employees can't cover 7 days a week because they're casual.
I understand what you're saying.
If someone's away or sick, whatever, we need someone else that can also fit into the roster. But it's not additional wage, it's just an additional person to fill the hours that have been allocated. Cool.
Jenny?
No.
Okay. Right. Questions? Yes, Councillor Plum.
Do we have an update on Adrian Brearling's health? How he's going? Our SES.
Are we comfortable about doing this in the meeting if we did have one? No? No. If you want one, we just like to give an update. I'll talk afterwards.
Mr Mayor, the 3 funded positions for 2021.
First start funding?
Yes.
Sorry, Jenny?
Through you, Mr Mayor, that is funding that the council applied for, and we put in a bid each year. It's funding that was started up again probably 2 years ago. This is the funding that we use to fund traineeships, administration traineeships, and we can also use it for the first year of apprentices. So it's that giving people a start in employment.
Yeah.
So it is beneficial.
Do we have, I agree it's beneficial, Mr Mayor. Do we have positions identified at this stage, or?
We're
working on it, Mr Mayor. So in our meeting on Monday, our leadership meeting, I'm finalising those. There will be, there's some that we've identified. It just depends on whose apprenticeship is finishing up.
Yeah. That's right.
And we call new apprentices, officers need trainees, or any other operations accounts need trainees.
So
we're going to we'll fill all 3.
through you, Mr Mayor, the fill all 3, but isn't there a fair bit of subsidy around now for apprentices and what have you coming out of COVID?
Well, Mr Mayor, so that was the other thing, waiting for how there is extra funding, whether LGAQ is allocating any councils. So we get our funding through LGAQ organising.
It's the Department
Someone,
Yeah. We
so
always-
council gets allocated so many places is the funding for. We put in a bid every year for how many places they allocate us. So it's not just, put someone on, you're gonna get the money.
There's a bit of an alarming catch, in my opinion, for the federal government's commitment to pay 50% of the wages of all first-year apprentices in all trades, because that is exactly what it is, 50% of the wages of first-year apprentices. So my fear is that what we'll see, and we saw this about 11 years ago when this happened last, very similar methodology. Yeah, everyone goes and puts on a biggie for first years, and they get to the end of the first year, and then there's no wage subsidy from then on. So all that happens is a bunch of first years you'll get unemployed real quick. The mining industry was shopping for it, and so the trick for me, I wouldn't be touching that if you didn't think that you could guarantee a position out of internal revenue moving forward. Now that's different to this. This is old money. The one I'm talking about is the one I think you're referring to, that the federal government alluded to in the budget, where they were going to increase by the tune of something like 50,000 apprenticeships Australia-wide by funding 50% of the total wage cost, which includes superannuation, for first-year apprentices, but there's zero guarantees for year 2, 3, 4. So it's a trap. In my opinion, it's a trap.
Yeah, I know it's a trap too, but we've always in the past, and have done for years now, we've given young mechanics and especially plumbers the opportunity. We haven't done that for a while, Mr. Mayor, so I'd like to see if we can give the opportunity to young people across our whole area, if we can, give them a start with those apprenticeships.
Very good. Further questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Glaser.
I brought it up yesterday, but not in a meeting. But I just asked the district manager if before can we have more users meetings regarding the showgrounds areas in all towns actually, before things have constructed and built and that's so that all users, as I say, all users of all grounds can have their say, even if it's only just once a year, so we can just so that the users.
Councillor Gleeson, I can answer that one for you because I intend to be hosting them in our communities very shortly, dedicated user meetings. And one of the things that came out of the LGAQ is the need for more regional sport assemblies. So I intend to look towards creating one of them here in Barcaldine so that sporting groups can have a streamlined access to support for grant writing, grant funding, regional sporting infrastructure planning, and that'll have to happen prior to budget process each year. So it need not necessarily be part of our community consultations. I think it can be a dedicated meeting for registered users of our showgrounds. So that will definitely be proceeding in all communities.
Thank you.
To you, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to call those meetings because, like you say, they are meetings for the users of the showground and we're council to attend. I do, out of the very first one we had, which was quite some time ago, the people that signed on gave email addresses, so I have those contacts. So I'm happy to send out the invites on behalf of the user group.
Thank you.
For you, Mr. Mayor, it's a subject that you seem to think will find entertaining that I'm interested in. The tree planting.
Oh, gardening. I've been waiting all day for this, Councillor Arthur. Thank you.
Can we have a little bit more, and I know it's operational, but I think it affects, and I will use the case of the gutter out here, where we have a tree planted too close to drainage infrastructure in the road. We've planted 4 leopardwood trees over in the main street opposite Lenny Davies. They're massive trees, they're planted a metre apart. Just, I know, and I think it talks to what Councillor Gleeson was also, there's been trees planted over the showgrounds and I know from my understanding, we've had to do something with the trees, but can we try and be a little bit smarter about what we do, as in not planting large trees under power lines or where users. We might, as a council, think it's a good idea, but the users may have a different idea. And I think most of our towns have legacy issues with old trees that have planted in good faith at the time, but they create headaches with infrastructure and drainage, all sorts of troubles, bike paths, footpaths.
Yep. Councillor Peebles.
Mr Mayor, can I just say to Councillor Arthur, I don't think it is operational, because there's no saying that the sign of a good councillor is someone who plants trees knowing they'll never benefit from the shade.
Mr Mayor, I think it affects our strategy, but the physical planting of a tree is operational. And I don't know whether that means we need to work on some sort of policy about streetscape or just a little bit of thought and patience will hopefully potentially create some shade and create a lot less troubles in the future.
Yes, thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, a lot of councils do have a tree planting policy, which then guides the staff. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of staff who are gardeners or expert gardeners. It makes it difficult to when we're doing gardening. You either like gardening or you don't, and we did advertise for horticulturists to help us in this area, but I just think we probably need to have a policy and a bit more guidance to staff about where we plant trees.
And through you, Mr Mayor, I think now is probably the best time, not as in seasonal wise, but we've access to a consultant, Neil Fisher, who's providing us some guidance with planning to the rec park. And I'm happy if it's within my remit to do some stuff on a policy for streetscaping or planning, or if it's outside my remit,
Policy's our remit. Someone else might draft it, but it's effectively our job. So if someone wants, councillors want to be involved in the drafting of policy, that's fine.
And I think Mr Mayor, it has some connection to the Councillor Plum and I have showed some interest in.
And have been working diligently on. So we'll get some copies of existing policies from other councils as a guide for the style and content of those policies. Other questions? Don't pick form though. Greg tries to whisper things and I shout them to the room.
The city of flowers, Mr Mayor.
Flowers as opposed to trees.
Yes, sure.
Questions for Jenny?
One last one, Mr Mayor. The multicultural display that we had at the Visitor Information Centre, is there any chance we can digitise that and put it on our website? I thought that was a nice little. I would assume that we have a digital format of what was printed off and put in the displays. I think it's nice. It would be nice to maybe not keep it for prosperity, but we have the option that if we do similar things in the future, that we can put them up on a loop on a screen so that visitors can, as they go through, or if we've got other attractions, we can reuse, recycle those.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I will check with the ladies who put that together because they will have that.
Right.
So I can ask about website.
Councillor, my only observation to you before, I don't think I've skipped anything. No. We've talked about the tourism numbers this season. Obviously, we think we've had a great rebound, but figures usually have a funny way of pointing out nuances. Whilst our September visitations 1,000 more than last year, it's still 2,000. Sorry, no, sorry, it's 500 more than last year, or give or take a little bit, say 700. It's still almost 1,000 down on our normal July peak. So it goes some way towards explaining that local businesses are feeling. I must admit, I'm not doubting the figures, Jenny, but that it just seems when I try and line up what the town looked and felt like in July 19 with September of this year, it just doesn't feel like those are, whether they don't all visit the information centre, maybe, maybe that might be the remit of a more traditional style of tourist, whereas the tourists we experienced this year were more self-governed or self-determined, but really the town felt a lot busier than what those figures would indicate, to me personally anyway.
And I think, I think the officer does sum that up a little bit, that, you're only capturing what does go into the information centre. We don't have anything that digitally collects that data on the street. And it's probably the family people that would have been probably travelling in September that probably don't go in there if they've got little children.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Mr. Mayor, talking to the officer this morning, she said this October there's 500 more than October last year today. So
There you go. But there's 1,000 in October already. Or just under.
well above the previous. So they've come later, and I'm not sure really what was the info centre open the whole of July?
Oh no, September I was comparing.
No.
For September we're higher by.
Yeah, but I was comparing the peak in September to the traditional July peak. What I was referencing. That's right. You're comparing year on year our peaks and just didn't line up. Anyway, that was an observation, councillors. If there's no more questions for Jenny, I'll vacate the chair.
Next on the agenda is 3.9.2, the Barcaldine Racecourse training fee. Officer's recommendation is that council amends the 2021 fees and charges schedule for racecourse training on her agreement to 1 to 10 horses per trainer for $220, including GST, and 10 horses and above per trainer to $550, including GST per annum. Someone want to move this before this? Is there any discussion, anyone about this?
For you, Lady Deputy Mayor. I did, Mr. Mayor rolls off the tongue a lot more than Lady Deputy. Are they similar to or in line with the buy agreement that we had previously, or were we not recouping funds from the trainers?
Deputy Mayor. We haven't recovered any fees in the past, so this is a new fee.
So this is all part of the process of.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it's just selecting we've got to start somewhere. Quite a fair figure, because some people might only have one horse or a couple of horses. Other people have got multiple. I think the big clubs charge per horse. But, for us to control that, it's too hard to know how many horses each trainer has.
So, is that, that fee is like a ballpark average figure, it's not compared to other racetracks? Do you know?
Deputy Mayor, it was too hard to compare simply because all the major racetracks that we had could get information from are privately owned and privately run, so they monitor. So that's how they can charge per day. So we just thought we have to recoup something for the facility that we provide, and we thought you've got to start somewhere.
So, one, is there
There's no
anyone,
further discussion.
anyone want to speak? Is there anyone who wants to speak against this amending the fees to that price? I'll just motion. Yeah, who's for?
Right now.
For the motion.
Against.
Nil.
Three, 9, 3. Jenny, would you like? It's a war, isn't it? It's not too old. Yeah. Councillors, you have for your information what is not public facing, and that is the contract. That contract is not a public document, that's a document between whoever the successful tenderer or are we following you? The successful individual is and council, so that's blacked out in the public facing agenda. Excuse me, Deputy CEO, Acting CEO.
I have a related party, but also
Potentially there could be a councillor.
So, I was just about to ask officers, like I understand applicant 1, 2, 3, but we've got no way of knowing as councillors of any related parties without the names. So, I'm happy wherever way we go, but I can't ask councillors to declare if they don't know.
And to you, Mr. Mayor, I did this because I didn't know that names would be redacted from the public agenda until I spoke to the acting CEO after the agenda was up on the website. Because I asked the question when I saw that there was something in the agenda that said it was commercial in confidence, and I rang the acting CEO to ask if that's commercial in confidence, how is that full agenda up there? And it was only then that I found out, so hence I'd done this report prior to my knowledge that that was an option.
Just 2 seconds, councillors. I've never closed a meeting more in my entire life. In the exact era that they don't want us to close meetings, here I am closing this meeting 11,000 times.
I do apologise,
That's not your fault.
Mr. Mayor.
That's not your fault, District Manager. Lies. Somebody help me. I've lost my exemptions page.
H,
I'll go with you if you say so.
I think you said G last time.
No, that was, oh, maybe. What's I? You read I for me?
I, as a matter that the local government is required to keep confidential under law or formal arrangement, Commonwealth or state. And F is the directly affect the safety of an individual or a group.
Is there a commercial one that we used just previously? Yeah, G.
Yeah, G.
G. Let's go. That's the one we used before. Let's use it. And here it is. Look at this. Negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which public discussion may be likely to prejudice the interest. I believe that we could be prejudiced if we release these names because it is for a contractor which fits within our employee code of conduct. For the benefit of advising councillors of who the applicants are without publicly disclosing them, we go into closed session so the officer can advise us and then councillors can make a determination of a related party. Can somebody please move that? Plum and Arthur. Seconds. We're going into closed session. Councillor Hanson is declaring a declarable conflict of interest due to a related party. He's electing to leave the room for the discussion and the debate thereon. Councillor. Yep, now go. Councillor Peoples, are you moving that the councillor moves into closed session pursuant to 254J, section G?
Yes, I am, Mr. Mayor.
For the discussion of this conflict. Seconder? Plum, those in favour? Carried. I've got them. Can I have somebody move the recommendation, please? Oh, sorry, the alteration to amend applicant 3 to Caitlin and Cameron Dare, please. Councillor prepared to move. Councillor Plum, seconder.
To you, Mr Mayor, she's K.
Councillor Arthur. Will there be debate about this? Councillor speaking against? No? Put the vote. In favour? 6-0. Close the meeting at
When does that
4:38 PM, precisely 5 minutes quicker than I shot the last one.
go on?